Hello, Steve White, Trekboy89 for Steve Arts89. I wanted to talk a little bit about some comments the director of Section 31, I won't call it Star Trek Section 31, made to, I think, trekmovie.com, or that's where the article I'm reading is. That's usually the articles I'm reading, which is why. Yep. So I'm not going to try and pronounce their name. I don't even know what sex they are. They said Starfleet has a particular set of ideals and morals and aspirations, and I would say Section 31 also has a particular set of ideals and aspirations, but they both have different ways of accomplishing the same thing, and Section 31 is there to do things in ways that Starfleet can't. It's a special ops kind of way. And speaking about the Rachel Garrick character, who becomes a distinguished Starfleet captain later, but is in Section 31 in this film, apparently. They say the actress said she's straddling the divide between those two worlds, as we say, trying to marry the Starfleet way of doing things and the Section 31 way of doing things, trying to figure out which rulebook is appropriate for which situation. They mentioned that they have a crew of misfits, and I don't know who said this, but they say we take the misfits, we take outcasts, and mean that in the greatest of ways, the most complimentary of ways, but who all are very precise about what they do. And the actor also made it clear that he's not a Borg, because some people were confusing the character with Borg because he basically looks like a Borg and is a cyborg. And they're talking about the other iterations of Star Trek are very naval. It's a ship that has a hierarchy and protocol and chain of command, whereas this ragtag bunch, they have all these things, but it's a little bit murkier. And so they also kind of let us play with that and improvise a little bit while still sticking to Craig's script, a brilliant script. So that implies there was some improvisation there when they were doing the filming, which is something they never do with Star Trek, although I've heard there was a bit of it in Discovery, but I mean, Discovery's not Star Trek, so, not quite relevant, but nor is Section 31. That's why I won't refer to it as Star Trek Section 31. They're two different things. Star Trek is set in a utopia that doesn't have this shadow group that it needs to exist, that basically undermines the idea of utopia, the idea of the Federation, and what Gene Roddenberry created, which is a rant I could go on, and I'm going to stop myself right there because I've done videos already doing that. And a couple other quotes, I'm not sure who this, I think it's from the same director. He's saying that you can hop right in, you don't need to know Star Trek. If this is your first Star Trek that you've ever seen, it's a great way to start as its own contained movie. Well, of course you don't need to watch Star Trek to watch this movie, because it has no relationship to anything else in the universe, because it's not Star Trek, so yes. And why you would be interested in Star Trek after seeing this, I don't know, because it's not representative of Star Trek. And if you like dark, dystopian, negative things in a universe with a government that's evil and everything, why would you want to go watch Star Trek, which is about a utopian future where we have this government, this federation that actually is a safe home for all of us and takes care of us all and allows us to grow and seek out intelligent life and explore space. Why would you be interested in that if you like this movie? And if you like this movie, why would you seek Star Trek out when this is just more dark dystopian science fiction like every other show? So I find that baffling. And they say in the article, Star Trek Section 31 might be a different kind of Star Trek movie, and it may represent a different approach to storytelling, but the cast and crew insist that the finished product will stand alongside its predecessors, like they've seen any of the movies. And the actor Amari Hardwick told Variety about the balance of familiar Trek formality with the informality of Section 31. There's still that marriage, the hybrid of the sort of formality that we grew up with watching, and yet it still has this dirty, edgy sort of take on it, where a sense of humour is allowed. That's kind of insulting because it implies Star Trek was never edgy or had any humour, and it has had both of those things in its day and at different times. Certainly wasn't dirty and gritty. Deep Space Nine tried to, but didn't really didn't really achieve it because it was still essentially a Star Trek show trying to not be a Star Trek show. It was like the anti-Star Trek Star Trek, but it was still Star Trek, sort of. But I just found those quotes interesting. I just sort of wanted to sort of talk about them for a second. I have a little bit of hope that they are at least acknowledging that Section 31 is something outside of Starfleet. It's not the way Star Trek fans or Starfleet would expect things to be done. So that does show some awareness of what Section 31 is or should be seen as in the Star Trek universe. I don't have the faith they'll properly depict that and explore that, but at least they actually seem to be aware of it. These people seem to actually be aware of what Section 31 is in relation to Starfleet and the rest of Star Trek. But we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Did I say that already? I don't know. I say it every time, so I